Hi everybody, this is a video intended primarily for county staff members who, as part of their role, need to review nutrient management plans. And the purpose of this video is to talk about what's new in SnapPlus version 3 in terms of how planners and farmers might be submitting nutrient management plan reports or access to version 3 nutrient management plans to county staff for review. So there's two big points that I want to talk about in this video. The first one is I will review how users go about generating reports, exporting maps, and exporting shapefiles in SnapPlus version 3. This is something that's really useful to know how to do whether you're writing plans or reviewing plans, because it's a good reminder about how we can create these reports and what the different options are. The second piece that I want to go through today is a brand new tab on the farm page called the Archives tab. And archives are a new way that we have of saving a specific version of a nutrient management plan and allowing users to request a review by a county office so that that office can review a specific version of the plan that has been completed. So we'll go through these steps together, and the goal of this video is just to walk you through, let you see how some of these different pieces work, and make sure you understand everything that's needed in order to use these features. So let's start with reports. Right now we're looking at the SnapPlus home screen. You can see I have my list of different plans here in the table, and I'm going to open up my demo dairy plan. And we'll just head right to the reports page. And one of the first things to know is that when you're working with a farm that is doing a 590 nutrient management plan, so that would not be a WPDES permitted farm, they have different requirements. When we're just thinking about 590 requirements, one good minimum set of reports to consider when you're thinking about having a planner submit reports to you as evidence of their nutrient management plan is to have them run the NM1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And one thing I want to point out here right away is that we have changed some of the report numbers in SnapPlus version 3. So just make sure you're taking a look at the report title as you're generating these reports, because we have reordered or renumbered some of them. I want to take a moment to highlight that the NM1 report, the farm narrative, this is a brand new report that we have reworked in partnership with DATCAP, and it is intended specifically to help county reviewers and help them by summarizing some of this key information that we know is important to track or report coming from nutrient management plans. So let's run one of these NM1 reports just to give you an example. We're imagining here that I'm working on a 2026 nutrient management plan. I fill out just a few questions as the planner or the farmer here as I'm getting this report set up. So let's imagine that this is a cash grain farm. I'm developing the plan as part of a cost share program, and I can skip this stuff about livestock and manure because let's say I don't have any livestock in this example. Then I can click download report, and this is one of a couple reports that gets generated as a Word document. So you can see here that I downloaded a Word document. I can go to my File Explorer and pull that up and take a look at it here and open it up. And I'll just show you the first page or two as an illustration of what this report contains. So here we see at the very top an operation overview for this specific plan. And then we see some basic information. We see information about why the plan was developed, how many total acres have been included, split up by county down below. We see any information that had been included in the narrative or annual notes. And then if we keep scrolling down, you can see that we're getting a high-level summary of information like how many fields are listed as rented versus owned and acres, a summary of any fields with soil test issues, and then there's some additional information that I'll let you review when you take a look at this report. So this is the new NM1 report. Other reports that you're probably already familiar with include the NM2 compliance check. That's the compliance check that you're used to seeing in SnapPlus version 2. Keep in mind that this report and also the NM3 and the NM4 report, they have two different possible formats. So you can generate PDF or Excel format reports. It's important to communicate with the planners and farmers who are submitting their nutrient management plans to you which format you would prefer, depending on what you're doing with this data and how you're planning to review it. So sometimes Excel spreadsheets can be really helpful if you're filtering or sorting data. Sometimes PDFs are easier to read. So make sure you make a decision and communicate that with the folks that you're working with. The final report that I want to mention here is this NM5 590 checklist. This is one where we have changed the number, so pay attention to that. And you'll see here that we have a little bit different setup for how you generate this report. And this is intended to help fill in some of those boxes that SnapPlus can't fill in for you, but it steps you through the questions. So in this example, I'm generating a 590 checklist, and I can go through and select the year and the reason that the plan was developed. And then as I walk through, before I actually get that Word document that I'm used to seeing, I have several pre-questions here that I can answer and review. And what this will do is it will check yes, no, or NA in the 590 checklist for these questions that SnapPlus does not check automatically. So this is just walking you through that same checklist information in a different way. Once you make it through all of these questions, you'll get an option to download your report as a Word document, and remember to review that and have the planner and farmer sign it before submitting that to the county office. So that's part one. That is how to submit reports. We've talked about the NM1 through the NM5, and I want to point out a couple more things. We also have available a field parcel summary as a text file report, and this is developed specifically for counties that might need this field parcel information in this specific format. What's different here in version 3 is that you're actually downloading this report from the reports page instead of maps. So notice here at the bottom, field parcel summary. When I click download report, you can see I get a text file download here in exactly the same format that we were providing these in version 2. So that's how you get your parcel data, and you can save that in any folder on your computer. Here on the Maps page, I'd like to give you a reminder of how to export PDF maps and also how to export shapefiles. So I'm here under Fields and Maps, and to create a PDF map, I click on this square button that says PDF here at the bottom of this toolbar. Now when I click that button, you'll see that I have a pop-up that allows me to set up my map layout. And so here, notice I'm too zoomed in, I can't actually see the field boundary. One of the great things about this option is that you can change and adjust your print view right from within this dialog without needing to go back out. So I can zoom and pan and get my map centered exactly as I'd like it. And then I can also choose some different options here on the left side of the page before I export the map. So I'll give my map a title, and then when I'm ready, I can click Export Map to export this as a PDF document to my Downloads folder. Now I can leave this same window open after my map saves and navigate to my next field and continue exporting maps right from here. So that makes it really easy to go through if you have fields that are in the same general area and just export as many maps as you need to. Now that my map has finished downloading, you can see it opened up here in a new tab as a PDF, and it's also present in my Downloads folder for me to save. Finally, I'm going to close this export pop-up, and I want to remind you that you can export shape files using this button here in the toolbar that has the 2 arrows. So you have import and export options. Make sure you have the export selected in this case. And then you'll need to select the feature type that you'd like to export. And you also have a choice of the projection if that's important to you and you have one that you would like to use on this list. After making these 2 selections, you can click Export. And when you click Export, you'll see that you get a zip file here with your shape files in your Downloads folder that you can save elsewhere on your computer. This is the conclusion of the first part of the presentation, where we talked about how to download reports and the specific reports that you might need as a minimum set that would be useful for 590 farms to submit to the county for review. Next, I want to talk about a different way to submit your nutrient management plan, and that's by using the new archive feature. If you go to the farm page, you'll see that we have a new tab here called Archived Versions. And we developed this archive feature because we recognize that there's a need when you're developing a nutrient management plan and you have completed your plan for the coming year, that we want to know exactly what state that data was in when you completed the plan and generated the reports. And then when the planner or farmer submits that for review, we want to be confident that the exact version that they submitted is what the county reviewer is seeing. And so the archive versions is a way for us to timestamp and freeze the data in the state that it was in whenever the user presses the archive farm button. And then we can use this request review button to send this archived version, and that's available to review, to a specific user group. And we think this is a really useful feature in the case of counties performing NMP reviews, because what you can do is you can set up a user group where everybody from your office who needs access to the plans are added to a user group. And then you can have a user, like a planner or a farmer, request review by typing in the user group name or by using the email that's associated with that user group. So I've got this made up user group called County NMP Group. And if I am right now playing the role of the planner or the farmer, let's say that I've got my archive version of the NMP here, it's ready to go. I want to request review from my County NMP group. I have to give them a permission level of read only or read only no maps. And then I can also specify the review year. And so this is just helpful because it gives us one more piece of data as we think out into the future as counties review many, many plans in any given year. Specifying the review year helps to filter down that table of plans that might be shared with this group so that you can focus on the ones that are relevant to the upcoming year. Now that I've completed this information, I can click Send Request. And you can see here that I have a row that has been added to my table stating that the County NMP group has been invited as a reviewer to my archived plan. So now that I've done that, I can close the window. Now let's imagine I'm logged in as a county staff member and I have received this review request. I can see that I have an invitation here in the upper right-hand corner of SnapPlus on the homepage. And when I open that, I can see that I have an invitation that's related to the County NMP group to review Demo Dairy. So that is a different invitation than a farm invitation that might come from the Farm Permissions tab or a user group invitation. Once I accept this, one important change to notice on the homepage is that now that we have accepted a plan for review, we get this additional tab called Plans Shared for Review. This is where I can go to see the specific archive version of this plan that has been submitted as the 2025 completed NMP. Now, you can imagine in this case that I'm a county reviewer, and if I'd like to open up and review this plan, I click on it, and I get a reminder here in the bottom right-hand corner with this orange bar stating that I am viewing an archive. This is the name of the archive, and I also have a complete review button here that we'll save for a little bit later. I want to point out that now that I'm in here reviewing the plan, I have a reminder that it's read-only access, so I can't make any edits, but I can go through and I can look at the different data in this plan. I can look at the fields and the rotations and see what's going on. As a reviewer, I'm also able to generate reports. And so this is an important point. You know, we can go in as a reviewer, and because reports are just another way to look at the plan data, I can actually go in and make a selection on the reports page and then generate any one of these reports. The same goes for maps. So as long as you have access that includes maps, you as a reviewer can still go to the Fields page and to the Maps tab, and you're able to see map information, and you're also able to export maps or export shape files using these two buttons. So those are things that are available to reviewers of a plan if that's something that you might need. Now, let's imagine that as the county staff member, I've gone through this plan. Let's say it looks good. As a convenience to help keep track of which plans have been reviewed, we do have this button called Complete Review. And the only thing this button does is when you click it, it'll say review status will be marked as complete. And that's as simple as exactly as it sounds. So once you do that, you can see that I have this review status column over here on the right side, and that's marked as complete. So if you imagine that I'm a county and I'm reviewing dozens or maybe hundreds of plans, you can imagine that it might be nice to be able to sort this table and see which plans have already been reviewed and which ones have not been looked at yet as I'm managing my workflow. The final piece that I want to talk about that we skipped over earlier is how to actually set up a user group. So we've discussed how to use the new Archive tab, and I want to quickly review how to access user group information and create one in case you haven't already. So notice in the upper right-hand corner of this screen, I have a gear button, and I can select the user groups option. And here is where I can see different user groups that I am part of. And so in this example, we were working with this County NMP group that I'm using as an example. And this is a good example because it has an illustration of how different roles can be used within a group. So in this case, I'm Bucky Badger. I'm the group administrator. Then we also have Dan, who's a group manager, and Kala, who's a group member. And so the important thing to know about these different roles is that everybody in the group, they ultimately share the same permission level in terms of plans shared for review or shared farms. But the reason we have these roles to distinguish people within the user group is that it makes a difference in terms of who has the ability to add other people to the user group and remove people from the user group. So as the group admin, I can add managers and I can add members. I can also remove managers and remove members. So I have the power to do that and also to delete this group. Anybody with the manager level role has the ability to add members and remove members, but they can't change anything about the group admin. And then if you have the member role, you're a member of the group, but you can't change anything about users that are part of the group. However, you can still see and have access to everything that the group has access to. Notice here on the user group page, I have another view of which plans are shared with the user group. And again, we're distinguishing between plans that are shared through the regular farm permissions page, and then plans that are going through this special review process involving the archive and request review. So that's another place to see exactly which plans the people in this user group have access to. Thanks for watching this review of how to generate reports in SnapPlus version 3 for submittal, how to use the new archive and request review feature, and how to set up a user group. I'd like to remind you that if you ever have any questions or bugs to report, please email us at the support email listed here. We always have a staff person monitoring this email address, and we really appreciate your feedback. Thanks a lot.